I've spent nearly $2,000 on Etsy ads since opening my store in October of 2022, and in return, those ads have brought me nearly $5,000 in total revenue. In this video, I'm going to discuss my specific approach to Etsy ads and how I utilize them to scale my Etsy and print-on-demand business. If you're new to my channel, my name is Taylor, and my channel is focused on all things Etsy and print-on-demand. If those are two things that interest you, I do hope that you will boop that subscribe button down below to follow me in my journey to becoming a six-figure Etsy seller. Now, to date, my Etsy store has been open for about 8 months, and in that time frame, I've generated over $40,000 in revenue. So with that being said, I have been able to scale my business rather quickly, and I attribute a portion of that to the use of Etsy ads and my specific approach with them. To break down my specific strategy, I think it's important to quickly analyze the life of an Etsy listing. So in a sense, your listing is born when it is first published on Etsy. And at this point, Etsy is looking to see how customers interact with your listing. They want to see how many people begin clicking into your listing to view it. Is there anyone favoriting your listing? Or even better, is anyone purchasing your listing? When you do receive those purchases on your item, this is just going to extend the life of your listing, as your listing is going to be renewed. And if your listing is getting sales, Etsy's also going to want to see what kind of feedback you're getting and receiving in the form of reviews. All of these types of interactions and engagement are what Etsy's utilizing to create a listing quality score, which is basically a mysterious score that we as sellers don't get privileged to ever seeing or knowing what it is. However, this score is what determines where your listing will rank in Etsy search and ultimately get your item seen by more people or send it to the graveyard for the life of your listing to expire. Now, of course, SEO, search engine optimization, can play a really big role in making sure that your listing gets in front of the right people to interact with it positively. However, for the sake of this video, we are going to assume that your SEO is good and your listing is optimized. Now, the reason that it's important to understand this life cycle of an Etsy listing is because this occurs every single time you publish a new listing. So you could list a product today and it will begin this timeline from publish date to expiration date. And during this time, Etsy will begin collecting data on how customers begin to interact with your listing. However, this is where Etsy ads come into my strategy. I mentioned in a previous video of how I got my first 500 sales that I utilize Etsy ads to pay to see the path of my listings. And so what happens when I turn on ads for my listings that are optimized is I am able to streamline the life of my listing just to see if it will be successful or not. Putting money behind my listing allows me to collect data just like Etsy is collecting data. I'm analyzing the same information that Etsy is, such as views, favorites, sales, reviews, to determine what's working and what's not. I'm also taking notes of the listings that are receiving those positive interactions, and I am making a note of specific things such as the SEO that I used, the type of mockup that I chose for the thumbnail of that listing, what type of design is it, what niche am I in? And I'm also taking notes of these things as well for the listings that aren't getting much interaction at all, so that I can compare and contrast again what is and isn't working. Now, the great thing about Etsy is you will be able to collect this data no matter what. Etsy does give a slight boost to all new published listings. So whether you're choosing to spend money on Etsy ads or not, you will be able to collect this data over time as well and assess your successes and opportunities within your listings. However, the reason that I personally use and recommend the use of Etsy ads is because this will allow you to collect that data significantly faster so that you can see success much sooner. As far as a budget for Etsy ads, there is a lot of debate on how to run profitable Etsy ads. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I've spent nearly $2,000 on Etsy ads, though that $2,000 in turn has brought me nearly $5,000 in revenue. Now, I would like to break down more of the specifics on that because I find that a lot of times people will throw out revenue numbers because they are flashy and they sound really exciting because they're often pretty large. However, revenue is different than profit. So I want to take a look at that specific revenue that I brought in, what I profited off of that, and how that differentiates from the money that I spent on ads. So looking at the specific numbers, I spent $1,921.98 on ads. And of that ad spend, I brought in $1,275.10 in profit, which looks like a loss of almost $650. However, that isn't something that deters me from using Etsy ads. And the reason being is there are additional benefits of Etsy ads that aren't able to be directly measured through just the revenue collected from listings sold, which on the dashboard for Etsy ads, that is all that is being measured. It will only show what revenue came in from a purchase made directly off of an advertised listing. If we think back to the life cycle of an Etsy listing, though, we know that all positive interactions that listing receives again through views, favorites, purchases, and reviews will only improve that listing's quality score and its ranking on Etsy. So there are additional sales and boosts to my listings that have happened because of the sales made through ads. And that is just something that isn't quite measurable on Etsy. I have had several instances where I've made a sale on a listing through an ad, and then shortly after that sale, I've made an organic sale because Etsy had then boosted the listing because of that first sale that occurred from Etsy ads. So what determines my specific budget for the ads that I run on my listings? I like to run an ad budget of about 5% of my average profit per day. This is something that I am reassessing monthly at this time and making adjustments when I have fluctuations in my revenue. But currently, each day, I am averaging about $600 in total revenue, which is about $180 in profit per day in my store, which 5% of that puts me at an ad budget of $9 per day. Now, I like even numbers, so I did round that up to $10 per day, and that is just what currently works for me in my store. And so if you are an experienced seller looking to begin utilizing Etsy ads, I would recommend the same calculation, taking your average profit per day for a month and spending 5% of that towards ads and beginning those ads on your optimized listings and listings that are already making sales, just so that you can boost them further. As for what I would recommend for a beginner utilizing Etsy ads who might not have sales yet to calculate a budget, I would suggest to start with just $1 a day, and again, only advertise listings that are completely optimized. Those would be your listings that you have researched SEO for, you have evidence for demand for that product, and they have high quality mock-up images. And if you were looking for more support in determining if your listings are optimized or not, I do offer coaching opportunities with a link in the description down below, which those are for both new and experienced sellers, really just anybody looking for additional feedback for their store. But to sum everything up, success on Etsy is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. This is not a get-rich-quick business. There is a lot of trial and error that goes into learning and understanding what works and what doesn't. And so I encourage you to continue trying new things within your business. It is great to go out of your comfort zone. That is where you will learn, be able to gather that data, and you will grow as a result of it. If you found value in this video, I would greatly appreciate if you hit the like button down below and subscribe if you would like to continue following me and my journey to becoming a six-figure Etsy seller. I hope that you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one.